my finances, investing, estate and retirement planning? Well, I went to school so you don't have to. Welcome to Finances and with Kathy and Jennifer.
Welcome to Finances and. I'm Jennifer and I'm here with Kathy.
Hey, how are you feeling today?
I am actually getting over a little cold, so my apologies if I sound a bit congested this week. No worries.
Good.
How are you?
2 days ago, I got a letter from the Unemployment Office of Virginia stating what my benefits are going to be because I'm now unemployed. However, I am not unemployed and I did not apply for that money. Just again, in this day and age, be super careful for what you're, maybe we're not checking our actual mail anymore as often as we should, or we wait to check it. But please keep on top of stuff like that, because I had to go and fill out a fraud alert with the Virginia Department of Employment because I am blessedly not unemployed. So again, that's just a thing to keep a lookout for.
Wow. Yeah. Good advice.
So this week, we're going to be talking about the topic of money and why it's so taboo to so many people.
Yeah, so Americans really seem to hate talking about money. Fidelity Investment Couple and Money Study has been conducted 6 times since 2007. This includes 1,662 couples with 3,324 individuals. These are 22-year-olds and up. They all are in committed relationships or married. And it's broken down into millennials born between 1981 and 96, Gen X born between 1965 and 1980, and baby boomers born between 1946 and 1964.
I'm going to be honest with you. This frustrates me, these titles, because I am born between two of those different areas, and I feel like none of it's actually me. Do you feel like whenever you read about it, that the category you fall into is actually true about you?
For the most part, I would say, yeah. I mean, I'm right in the middle of like the millennial category. So
no, it's just a frustration.
Yeah. It doesn't mean I'm happy with all the millennial stereotypes. I can say that.
In this study, they found that 34% could not tell the salary of their partner. 20% disagreed on where their important financial and legal documents were even kept. And 33 to 34% say that they have difficulty even having conversations about managing debt or even talking about money at all with their partners. Statistically, we talk about problems in our marriage, addiction, mental health. We talk about racism, sex, and politics more than we even talk about money.
What is talking about money? Is it stating your income? Many people worry they make more than their friends and don't want them to feel badly. But sharing where you went to school, how much you pay for things, and other clues don't seem to bother us. We don't discuss how much we earn because it gives insight into our potential worth, which can be an embarrassment of too high or too low, depending on the situation.
This is somewhat minimized in jobs where salaries are based on a posted table. So, for example, if you're teaching and someone knows what your level of education is and your years of teaching, then they're going to be able to pop onto that table and see how much you make anyway. Or if you're in the military, if someone knows your rank and your time and grade, they can look it up, and that helps minimize some of the mystique. But keeping our financial discussions taboo robs us from learning from each other, just like when we discuss what type of food we might like to buy or what restaurants we'd like to eat at or anything else that we discuss with friends. We should be able to talk about these topics as well.
Yeah, definitely. This fear of sharing financial information helps us contribute to financial illiteracy. I'm going to give you 3 classic financial questions. You can feel free to hit pause after each one to really think about them or answer them off the cuff, and then we'll give you the answers to them later in the podcast. So number 1, true or false? Buying a single company stock usually provides a safer return than a mutual fund. Number 2, suppose you had $100 in a savings account and the interest rate is 2% per year. After 5 years, how much would you have in your account? More than $102, exactly $102, or less than $102? And the final question, number 3, imagine that the interest rate on your savings is 1% per year and inflation is 2% a year. After 1 year, you would be able to buy more than today, exactly the same as today, or less than today.
Go ahead and hit pause if you really want to consider the questions or listen to them again. But just so you know, once we get to the answers, not knowing the answers or only getting one right puts you with 21% of the households in the United States. Getting 2 correct puts you with 36% of the households, and getting all of them, only 43% of the households are able to do that. These topics are about how much you make or how much you've saved or even how much you value money. But they do show that 57% of US citizens do not know the answers. And honestly, we should. We're going to do a quick breakdown of the correct answers, but we'll do that near the end.
Knowing what you don't know is actually a great gift. It's a starting point on your own financial education. But how do we fix this fear of discussion? One thing to do is to start by talking to your spouse. You have to fully share all the assets and liabilities and set financial goals together. In 2018, the Harris poll found that 41% of adults with combined finances withheld or hid purchases, statements, or bank accounts from their partner.
That doesn't lead to any trouble at all.
No.
Another thing you can do is talk to your kids. We're not suggesting that you share your finances with your children, but we are saying that you share how you think about money with them. Share your thoughts on how you save. So what percent do you save? Or how did you decide on that percent? Or what lessons have you learned? Share your spending ideas. How long do you think about a major purchase or a minor one? And what do you consider minor? Is there a dollar amount that you don't buy over without discussing it with your partner? And if that's true, why do you do that? Essentially, look at your spending and explain your reasoning behind it. Then talk about earnings. Again, not your full disclosure, but what lessons have you learned? In episode 56, we have more ideas on how to talk to your kids about money. So if you'd like more, pop back and listen to that.
I think that's a huge benefit and a great way to think about talking to your kids, because I feel like with kids, they simply compare to other people. So they're like, oh, that person has a bigger house than me, so they're much richer than we are, and that sort of thing. So if you're actually taking the time to talk to your kid and educate them on how you're spending your money and the decisions that you're making, I feel like it's going to be way more beneficial for them as they make money decisions as they get older.
Well, it's like the millionaire next door, right? That's the person who doesn't have the big house and doesn't have the fancy car. It's the person who's making these financial choices, not just spending because they can or because someone else is also spending.
Yeah. And that's a huge thing for kids to kind of realize at a young age about perception and about money.
And just what you're thinking about it. You share your thinking on why you're eating the foods you eat. Mm-hmm. Why not share how you're spending your money?
Yeah. Number 3 is about your aging parents. We just covered elder care and go into depth about these topics in episode 60. But disclosing the value of your estate, like your accounts, property, and other assets, is not necessary. But how you made these choices is what is the most important part.
In all cases, keep this a discussion and make it non-judgmental. Focus on behavior and results. And if you have any questions, there's a great chance that whoever you're talking to has questions too. And that's how you learn, just bouncing ideas off of each other.
Companies that provide financial well-being help, like retirement tools, brown bag lunch topics, one-on-one sit-down help, can really help their employees and be a real enticement to those who need counsel. Check with your HR and see what they might be willing to offer if they don't already.
So that brown bag lunch idea is really terrific. I know for myself, it was a turning point in my life. I'd heard of trusts, but I had absolutely no idea what they were. And the company I worked at, you just brought in your lunch at lunchtime, sat in the conference room, and somebody was explaining what trusts are, why you might want one, what's the benefit of it. And I walked away from there knowing probably almost nothing in terms of what a real trust was, but so much more. And it really motivated us to finalize our will, which we had put off because we were young and silly, and to actually get a trust for our family, for our kids, and to provide for them. Just those 1 hour discussion, you can talk your company into offering it, or if they have it, take advantage of it. It can really be a turning point in your life.
Yeah, and that can be a virtual brown bag lunch or any other time as well.
It probably will be right now.
Another challenge is that we don't process information deeply. Our brains use shortcuts and emotion to shorten the analysis time. These are psychological biases by overestimating the importance of information. We are afraid of talking about it, but read, watch videos, and listen to experts. These are all good ideas. But then also just checking in with a friend or partner has great benefits too. You can see if they got the same message, or you can check each other's understanding. You can do that even like with a podcast like this. If you're both listening to it at some point and then discussing it afterwards, can really help you process the information.
Absolutely true. And sometimes we're afraid to be wrong, and we really fear getting something financially wrong in front of friends. It means every decision that you make alone has the possibility of real financial loss. Haven't you found yourself asking your friends for review of a roofer or their opinion on what kind of a car or even what kind of crib to buy? We want those recommendations. Why will we not do the same thing about financial topics?
It's great if you do have like a friend or a partner who you can start those discussions with, who you trust, talking about money with them. And then that's going to build your confidence as you start to be having those discussions. So you'll feel more comfortable talking about it with other people too.
Well, let's face it, if you're having a discussion with one person over and over again, your comfort level is going to skyrocket because you realize what the two of you know and what you're trying to, either what your family goals will be, if that's who you're talking to, or just getting a friend's point of view because their life experiences are going to be different and what they require of their money might be different. But having those kind of big idea conversations will just be helpful to both of you.
Yeah. And finding people of different ages to have these discussions with too, because again, that's going to change your experience and the knowledge that all those people have.
Good point. That's a really good point.
Sometimes we feel that our provider role is in jeopardy if we want to talk it over. The reality is your conversation about money actually prepares the non-financial partner for a time you may not be able to do it. And that's what a provider does, takes care of their family.
So if you're thinking that somehow you're relinquishing responsibility by having conversations with those who don't have to do with financial decisions in a big way, you are not helping them at all. Your kids, your spouse, one day they might have to do it, whether you like that or not. And if they don't have any education on how to do it or even what your thoughts are when you're making these choices, you're handicapping them. Brad Klontz, CFP and the founder of Financial Psychology Institute, says that money can be attached to status and that you know people who make fun of those who seem to be flaunting their status. This is an ingrained human characteristic. He also states that many people fear being judged and that we can focus too much on how others perceive us. It is so ingrained that we tend to hang out with other people of our own social status.
Think of the topic of money in this financial cycle. One thing leads to another and actually causes our problem of even getting started. I'm going to read this list of items in the financial cycle, but it really is a cycle. So just imagine a circle and each item leads to another. So you might jump in at any point and just continue on at any point in the cycle. But I'm starting with financial taboo. So financial taboo can then lead to financial ignorance, which then leads to making financial mistakes, which leads to shame and embarrassment, which leads to topic avoidance, which again goes back to that financial taboo.
And by avoiding it, now it seems like something you shouldn't be talking about. So completely right.
Mm-hmm. How did you do on that quiz from the beginning? I'm going to go through and read the answers to you now. So number one was buying a single company stock usually provides a safer return than a mutual fund. And that was false. Number two, suppose you had $100 in a savings account and the interest rate is 2% per year. After 5 years, how much would you have in your account? The correct answer was more than $102. And number three, imagine that the interest rate on your savings is 1% per year and inflation is 2% per year. After 1 year, you would be able to buy less than you could today.
True. One other thing that Dr. Klontz suggests is being transparent with your goals when you bring up money with someone for the first time. Sharing your intentions helps everyone know why this topic is even coming up, and that will help them feel at ease and help shape the type of conversation that you might have. You might want to talk about retirement with a partner so that you can make joint plans.
Or make savings and spending plans together.
That's true. He also recommends asking the others for advice as a way to easily begin this conversation, that it might be a little less intimidating way to bring it up. If you're asking them for their opinion or their advice on something, it might be a way to ease someone's anxiousness if they're thinking that you want to hear what they have to say about a specific topic. And then you can begin to have a real discussion about it and not... Even if you have an agenda, you can bring it up in the way that you're asking them for their advice.
Mm-hmm. Many people think discussing money is unfeminine or seems arrogant, but believing that really keeps us from finding better habits. They have found that this taboo subject has actually kept women and minorities at the low end of the pay scale because they don't know their worth compared to others. Finally, admitting to previous errors we've made is hard for so many people when it comes to money, and this can be part of quite a costly cycle.
And any topic that you're worried about talking about, it's hard to get started sometimes, but finding a way to easily ease someone else into it. And you can even say, I really want to talk to somebody and you're the first person that I thought of. That's so disarming, right? That you're interested in their opinion on a topic. That's a great way to start something.
Yeah. And if you're still like intimidated by that, then doing some of your own research by like listening to a podcast or reading a book or an article, that can give you even like a little confidence boost to get a little bit of information to help you start topics as well.
Good point. Anything else?
That's all for this week.
So thanks for listening to Finances and Money Taboos. We know you chose to listen and we're grateful. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow or subscribe for free in your podcast provider and share your favorite episode with a friend. Finally, consider leaving a review because it helps bring financial education to others and it helps people find us more easily. Please let us know what questions you'd like answered or any topics you'd like us to cover by going to our website at financesand.net and leaving a message. You can find our infographics there as well as right here in our show notes. Finances and does not provide tax or legal advice, and nothing in this podcast is to be construed as such. Always consult a tax, accounting, or legal professional for advice on your specific situation. Remember, I went to school, so you don't have to. I'm so sorry.
Okay. All right, we're going to pause and go back to how Kathy's feeling.
Hello.